Twins get the 4-game sweep over Chicago. I got our Twins expert, Theo Tollefson. He's going to help us break it all down. It's all coming up next on the Locked On Twins POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Twins POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up? What's up? Back in the lab, back at it. Another Twins POSTCAST episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Myself, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman. That's the man in the flesh. Theo Tollefson, Twins expert over at Zone Coverage MN. He's on X at Theodore Tollef1. And Theo, before we jump into all the action, quick reminder, today's episode, it's brought to us by Monopoly Go. And I got to admit, I'm a huge fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. Join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now, free at the App Store or Google Play. All right, man, Twins coming in on a heater. Watch out, folks. Winners of 3 in a row. That's right, 3 straight, looking for their first sweep of the season before they head to the West Coast. They take on the Angels Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Woods Richardson gets the start. He went 5 strong, gave up 2 runs. Twins trailed 2-0 until the 6th inning. Edward Julian, Ryan Jeffers, back-to-back bomb shots. That tied things back up. Same inning. They weren't done yet. Willie Castro knocks in Trevor Larnach. That gave them the 3-2 lead. Very next inning, Julian does it again, his 7th home run of the year. Santana adds on an insurance run in the 8th with his first home run of the year. And then very next batter, Miranda hits his 2nd bomb of the year. So 2 back-to-back homers in this one. That was a lot of fun to see. Bullpen does the rest, 6th, 7th, 8th inning. Cole Sands, Thielbar, Cole Stewart, ring them up, sit them down. Top of the 9th, things get a little dicey. Okert comes in, loads the bases. Things get a little tense, a little dramatic. In comes Griffin Jack. He cleans up the mess. Twins win it 6-3, bust out the Brooms, their first sweep of the season. Let's kick things off. Let me kick it over to you, Theo. Let's just start with your biggest takeaways, maybe your A topics first and foremost.
Well, of course, the sweep would not have come easily as many fans would have hoped. There was Tuesday night's game where they walked it off. Obviously, we didn't get to covering that with the big Wolves win on Tuesday night. And then, like you mentioned, that 9th inning was rocky for Okert, and they got out of it just barely with the help of Griffin Jackson. If it weren't for those extra home runs, especially for Carlos Santana, who has not been fantastic at the plate so far this season, he finally gets over that hump, gets that first home run of the season out of the way from the left side of the plate, not the right side, but switch hitter. You got to designate that every once in a while. So, the solo home runs, I always prefer more guys on base, especially when Eddie Julian has 2 solo shots. It has 7 home runs and only 9 runs batted in. Man. I don't like that. I'm old school in that sense. I want to see double the amount of RBIs that you have in home runs, but that's just me. Anyway, the bats are back alive. It really just took playing the Chicago White Sox to really get everything going once more. And, especially with Tuesday night's game, and I'll just go back to that once more with Pablo Lopez, where it looked like, okay, maybe this isn't going to be the sweep. The White Sox got the better of him in the 4th inning, but the offense picked it up at the end of the game as they did in the later innings here today. So I think they just need that rejuvenation. They got their mojo back. Now they have to go for 3 games to Anaheim, and the Angels are kind of playing similarly to the Twins have, but I think they have a stronger lineup and more depth in their bullpen to really outplay them.
Yeah, we'll touch on that Angels preview here coming up, but you're right. You think back to game 2, Pablo, kind of a rocky start in game 2. Luckily, they do come back on that, but think about at that moment, middle of the game when Pablo's struggling in game 2, just the difference and contrast and how we feel right now versus how we feel, just 2.5 games ago. What a huge swing of momentum, both mentally for this team, but also just on paper in the win column. You win 4 straight, you move to 11-13 on the year. Just again, a huge difference compared to what things felt like coming into this series at the beginning. And you're right too. Yes, you want some more RBIs on some of these home runs, but I will say watching 5 home runs from this lineup without your 2 studs, Correa, Royce Lewis, obviously. That was just kind of a cherry on top today. That was so nice to see. And really this entire series as a whole, top to bottom, 25 runs scored in just 4 games. 7 runs, 6 runs, 6 and 6 again today. And no, I said this last night. No, I really don't care that it's against the White Sox, the worst team in the league, because for how bad the Twins bats started, I think most would agree you'll just take anything you get right now, get some confidence, get some momentum going again. And it feels like they're doing that. Let's dive in a little bit more into Woods Richardson's day on the mound. I think it kind of came by surprise to some folks. I know they had Bailey Ober penciled in most of the week anyways, leading up to this one, but he gets his second start of the year. He looked sharp in his first outing about a week and a half ago. Today's stat line, 5 innings, 7 hits, 2 earned, 6 Ks, 1 walk, 94 pitches on the day. 66 of those were strikes. So I guess just overall thoughts on his second start now, what you've seen from him thus far through 2 games.
Considering where he was for most of last year, I would rather him give up more, like over 5 hits and 1 walk, like the results were today. So 7 hits, 1 walk. I think that is a sign of improvements compared to what his minor league numbers were last year. Command was not where it needed to be, and he finally got a hold of all that towards the end of last season. And I think we've seen a much sharper side of him with his start in Detroit about 2 weeks ago now, and then today was great. I mean, obviously not ideal, but considering where the depth is in this rotation right now, and it is being tested, and to have him come up, and I just saw him at CHS Field yesterday, expecting him to be joining the Twins for the road trip and not as soon as possible. But, get him up there, get him for his first start at Target Field. He pitched there last year out of the bullpen, but this was his first career start on that mound at Target Field. So that was a huge confidence booster for him. Then, this is just a building block, and especially for a guy who's still only 23 years old, which is hard to believe. He's not turning 24 until September, but he's been long enough that, this is a good baseline for a guy his age and where he should be if he's hoping to be cracking a spot in a major league rotation.
Yeah, well said. Good breakdown there. And you're right, man. Just scratching the surface. So young. How do you view him right now? You kind of touched on it, but like, where's his ceiling, I guess? Where's the floor as far as like a starting pitcher goes in the MLB? Just from what what you've seen from him the past year or two, like if fans knew nothing about him, which, some people still don't, what would be, I guess, kind of the scouting report or synopsis that they can kind of lean on for the next few months when they see him out there?
Middle rotation guy is his peak ceiling, I would say.
Okay.
He's getting up to that 93, 94, touching 95, a little bit on his fastball velocity. But, his great thing has been this last year is command. And, a little side note of what he does to really like compose himself on like in the games and then just outside of the games is he's a big meditator. And that's something like that really helps him just focus in on what he can and cannot control. And I think, those hits, even though those pitches were making it great into the strike zone, every once in a while, you're going to give up a hit when you're getting those perfect pitches in that strike zone. And that's the case of what we saw today. And I think, again, we've seen a lot fewer walks this week from all Twin starters. And I think that is a huge takeaway. And he was a great case of that today, just the one. So he's got his command there. And if everything works out, yeah, you could see him, 4 or 5 years from now, middle of the rotation type of guy, your number 3 starter. That's his peak ceiling, but obviously there's still some things to work on. It's just, whiffing, getting those whiffs up higher against hitters. And that wasn't the case today. But again, we're talking about a baseline of a guy who only was in his 4th major league career game and is still building on things. And I do have a piece coming out on David Festa on Zone Coverage tomorrow, but it's going to kind of touch over something similar. A lot of minor leaguers are dealing with today is the fact that they are on these pitch count limits just to build them back up, especially. And it's not uncommon to see it during the first month of the season, but Simeon Woods Richardson, I think it was 95 pitches he had today, which is eclipsed most of his totals he's had up to this point this year. So it's just telling of, you got this baseline where the bullpen's at, but also where you want to see him go moving forward.
Yeah, really good breakdown, really good scouting report there. Again, just something to go off of here. And again, just scratching the surface. But again, he's really stepped up, I feel like, for the most part, with the starting rotation that had a lot of question marks, not only at the beginning of the year, but right now as well. Rocco report. I'll tee you up. You just tell us your favorite or your least favorite move or decision, whatever it may be from today's game. So game 4 versus the White Sox, the Rocco report, it says what?
Well, it says that changing up the lineup every once in a while to get some things moving works out well. Now, I know that was on Monday's game, shaking things up, moving guys from one spot to another, Julian moving into that number 2 spot. So it is a little old of a take. But, I mean, just keeping those guys moving, I mean, knowing that some players do prefer to know where they're going to hit every day, but also having that bit of surprise. So you don't have this immediate pressure with, in Julian's case, leading off the game, in that 2 spot, 2 home runs, solo shots, and everyone seems like is on the up and up. I know Kyle Farmer is still getting a lot of crap on Twins Twitter, which everyone needs to lay off him a little bit more than they are right now. He just needs to rejuvenate himself, and seeing everyone get that in the clubhouse, I think that will be along the way for him. And with the good news, which we can touch on a little more later, with Carlos Correa more than likely joining them on this road trip without a rehab assignment, I think that's exactly what they needed before they get one of their 2 superstars back.
Yeah, absolutely. Great news. Music to a lot of fans' ears for sure. We'll touch on that in segment 2. I was just curious, did you like the all-righty lineup yesterday in Game 3? I asked Lou about it, and I'm glad I did, to be honest, because I was thinking, how the heck do you sit Larnach and Kirilloff right now, because they've been so hot? But he made some really good points, and bottom line, most importantly, it worked out, right? Proof's in the pudding. They got the win. I know, easy to say sometimes in hindsight, either way. Just curious, did you like that move when you first saw it? Knee-jerk reaction?
Because I think those of us who follow the team on a near daily basis know, even if Rocco's putting out a lineup, he's going to have at least one of his guys coming off the bench into the game and, mixing and matching whoever comes out of the bullpen. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. So I think, especially with Gary Crochet, who's one of the White Sox top pitching prospects, and the White Sox being how they are, he's definitely getting hammered around. It's kind of an intimidation factor that they really needed to get these wins going, and they did their part.
Yeah, well said. All right, some box score scouting before we move on here. We say it doesn't tell the whole story. Something to go off of, though. Kirilloff 0 for 3 with a walk. Julian 2 for 4, 2 home runs, his 6th and 7th home runs of the year. Jeffers 1 for 3 with that bomb shot, his 4th home run of the year. Larnach 2 for 4. Dude's on fire right now. I think he went 5 for 9 in this series. Don't quote me on that. Something very close to that, if that's not exactly it. 375 batting average now on the year. Kepler 1 for 3. His batting average keeps creeping back up. That's great to see. Castro 1 for 4, another RBI. Santana 1 for 4 with that home run, as we mentioned. Miranda 2 for 4 with the home run, and Austin Martin 0 for 4. Just final thoughts when you hear and see that box score numbers. What else jumps out to you for good or bad?
Well, just to correct you, it was 5 for 10 for Larnach, so 500.
5 for 10.
Still,
okay.
Again, still great, nonetheless. Jose Miranda had been cold coming into this week, so huge game for him. Exactly what he needed, getting a home run once again. Obviously, we already touched on it with Carlos Santana. He absolutely needed that, and getting that first home run out of the way at Target Field. I think there will be some alleviation. And let's talk about the birthday boy. I know you and Lou probably covered it yesterday, but Willie Castro, as he said in the post game, had the best birthday of his life so far with how he performed yesterday. And he continued that here again today. And I think that's the thing. Some of these guys who have had these cold starts are starting to heat up, or if they've had bad weeks recently, they're fluctuating. And that's the thing. Like, this is how the game does. It changes so quickly, and you just got to adapt to the circumstances. I'm not worried about Kirilloff. It's just a slump. He will recover. The opportunities will be there. I think everyone's on the up and up trajectory, and I think that is going to be coming soon for Kyle Farmer, because, again, 4-game sweep, no matter who your opponent is, especially when you have it in front of your hometown fans, that is going to be a huge momentum shift within the clubhouse from where it was on Sunday compared to where it's going to be when they get to Anaheim on Friday.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely. Things are looking up for your Minnesota Twins. All right, don't go anywhere. Plenty more deep dive, including our nerdy stat of the day. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, this show brought to you by Monopoly Go. Now, I've been told I'm the competitive one in the household. I'm the guy who's always trying to kick things up a notch, maybe create some friendly competitions, if you will. And that's exactly why Monopoly Go is perfect. And not just for me, but over 150 million other people that have already downloaded it. It's the new latest and greatest twist on the classic Monopoly we all love and remember. And now you can play on not just one board, but hundreds of Monopoly boards, all with different crazy locations, helping you build up amazing new cities that bring you big money. And the best part, without a doubt, messing with your friends and family. Charge them rent on all the iconic properties, and you can even steal their vaults of cash, or team up with your friends and earn big rewards. So what are you waiting for? Get in the game, play with all your family and friends. Go download the Monopoly Go app for free at the App Store and Google Play. All right, you teased it. Give us the payoff. Just quick update. What's the latest on Royce Lewis and Carlos Correa from what you've heard thus far?
Mainly other people's reporting. Obviously, most of what I have is with the St. Paul Saints. So when I'm there tonight and tomorrow night, I will have some articles with some quotes with Justin Topa and Joan Duran, who are rehabbing there right now. Topa obviously will be out for an inning tonight, and then Duran once again tomorrow night. But with what's been reported with Correa, he probably won't need a rehab assignment and will be joining the team on the road trip. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to be starting tomorrow against the Angels, but he's going to be in the clubhouse and the opportunities will be there for him to start possibly when they get to Chicago at the very latest. So again, you want to have these types of runs before you get your superstar back and don't have to put everything on him in terms of fan expectations of what they want to see in this turnaround from the lineup. Now, Royce Lewis, I think he's still progressing and there's no clear indicator on when he'll start rehab assignment, but if and when it's going to be sometime this next month and he's in St. Paul, I will definitely be there to talk to him.
Love it. Can't wait for that. Just curious, letting the dust settle here. You look at this 4-game series as a whole now. You got the 7-0 win in game 1, then the come from behind win in game 2. Which one is better for a struggling ball club, in your opinion? Like the Twins had coming into this series, like the one you get to put on cruise control for most of the day, or the fun, dramatic thriller where you get to walk them off in the 9th inning?
I think it's the dramatic one, especially just given the circumstances of it was your ace on the mound and he just didn't have his stuff against one of the worst the worst lineup in baseball, statistically speaking, right now. And that was telling. And I think it just was needed a reality check that even when these types of stuff happen, your lineup can still come back and win it all for you. So that's exactly what happened. And I think that was the momentum shift of, okay, we've got this. And of course, this game today, which we still need to talk about a little more, is that 9th inning. Steven Okert just did not have his A game. And there was a bad defensive play that allowed those runs in the later innings, but that was because of Griffin Jackson on the mound and some miscommunication between Santana and Julian trying to dive for that second to last out, but they recovered and they still won the game. So
what's your overall synopsis or grade of this bullpen? Again, inning 6, 7, 8, they come in, ring them up, sit them down. Okert, who's been pretty solid, I feel like, for the most part, comes in, gets into that trouble. Just overall synopsis. Obviously, they got out of the messy jam today, but overall synopsis or grade of this bullpen. A bullpen that I think had a lot more questions than answers and maybe have exceeded expectations up to this point.
Yeah, they have. So I would say B plus, mainly because it's still early in the season. Some of it is with this lineup not coming back to help them, but like overall, especially Jackson Stewart have been the two guys that have lived up and exceeded their expectations to fill in for the absence of Joan Duran, which again, I don't know if he's going to be joining in Anaheim, but there might be a chance if all goes well tomorrow night, he could be joining them in Chicago for that 3-game series at it's not Comiskey anymore. Whatever they call it.
Whatever they
we'll
call
just say
it now.
Comiskey.
It'll change by the time we figure it out. They'll change it again, anyways.
Exactly.
So
and Topa, who has the setback in last season, pitched the most amount of games he's ever in his professional career with the Seattle Mariners at 75. I'm interested to hear, how he's feeling about things and just building back up. And if you look at how many innings he threw in his first 2 seasons with the Brewers, it was just very, very limited. So, it's good to see this comeback, their bullpen reinforcements, so things can balance out, and the shuttle between St. Paul and Minneapolis won't have to be as extensive for some of these guys. So, Josh Staumont, who was already on rehab assignment and optioned back to the Saints bullpen, once he completed it, I mean, with his injury, that's definitely one you want to take the time and not put such pressure on to throw him into these situations. So there will be a couple more guys optioned down once those two return, and I think keeping things at that B plus level, to bring it back to your original question, is huge for what they've been able to do so far in the first,
I feel like
4 games.
I feel like if you told people before the season that at this juncture in time, almost a month into the season, that it was a C plus, not even a B plus, C plus, I feel like some people would say, okay, we'll take that, honestly. So a B plus, again, exceeding expectations thus far. If I made you pick one in this 4-game series, who's the MVP? I know Larnach didn't play in game 3, but man, like you said, 5 of 10 in 3 games. He's on fire right now. That 8th inning 2-run home run in game 2 to get the comeback going. He'd probably be my pick, I guess, without doing an extensive deep dive into all the stats and box scores. But who you got top of your head?
I think one guy who absolutely came into this series with his rolling question with this Twins lineup has really just rejuvenated himself and really kept himself secured is Willie Castro. And shout out Tom Froman, his team MVP last year, another Twins Daily person. Not right in there, but does his TF Twins stuff on YouTube. So just want to plug his team MVP. I think he really just turned himself around, especially on his birthday yesterday. That was phenomenal. And you really need to see something like that from a guy who is not supposed to be an everyday shortstop, who definitely serves better in that super utility role or is more comfortable at the corner positions of second base and third base. Well, second base isn't corner, but you know what I mean. And even center field. But I think he definitely deserves nods for his role in this game. 4-game series.
What else stuck out the most, I guess, in this 4-game series? Could be for good or bad. Just when you look at, again, back before they even started game 1 to now, where we sit right now, the feeling we have right now, what was maybe most surprising or just stuck out the most, in your opinion, when you look at that 4-game sample?
I think the surprising bad side, as it's been mentioned, is Pablo's start. But again, we've seen him bounce back from stuff like this before. It's still only April 25th, and it feels it's much later in the season that's at this point because of how bad things have been. But they turned themselves around. But to go back to that same game when Buxton finally had his first home run of the season, and that was just a feeling within me watching it. I mean, going back and forth, and the Wolves pretty much had their win secured by that point. So I'm like, okay, I got to watch see how this play out. Yeah. And as soon as he hit that home run inside the game, I'm like, okay, yeah. This is, and again, the White Sox are the team he's killed the most in his career. So he just needed that. That's like, okay, they're going to be fine the next 2 days.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. All right. You got a nerdy stat locked and loaded for us? Any fun or crazy stat or analytic you can share with the class? What do you got?
Well, first 5 home run games since August 24th last year against the Texas Rangers, which was a 7-5 win. They had 2 last year, the other one being against the Chicago Cubs on the 13th of May. So it's been a pretty consistent thing to see the Twins have at least one of those a year dating back to 2019. No 5 home run games in 2018, but it's still huge. They can still turn themselves around. And again, this was another sign of, there were some falters in the bullpen, but the offense finally picked them up this time to not have that be detrimental and turn this into a 3-1 series versus a sweep.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you'll take a 3-1 series win, absolutely. But the difference between 3-1 and 4-0, getting that first sweep of the season, man, it feels nice. All right, don't go anywhere. We got to preview this Angels series coming up. That starts tomorrow, and that's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members to date. And for me and my money, it's by far the easiest and most exciting way to get in on all the action while you watch your favorite sports and your favorite players. All you got to do, super simple. You pick more or you pick less on 2 or more player stats, and you watch the winnings roll in. Baseball officially underway, in full swing. So whether it's strikeouts, home runs, RBIs, first inning runs, you name it, they got it. Take your pick on more or less and add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Or get in on all the NBA playoff action right now and win up to 100 times your money on the Prize Picks app. Plus, love this, they now offer Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Just real quick, I brought this up last night to Lou. I wanted to get your 2 cents or just kind of knee-jerk reaction because it seemed to be kind of a hot topic around town. Aaron Gleeman's piece on The Athletic about Twins hitters having a really hard time with a lot of the off-speed stuff, how opposing teams, opposing pitchers specifically, obviously, really making them pay for maybe sitting on too many fastballs for the most part. Just curious, 30 seconds, your quick thoughts on that and maybe what needs to be fixed then, I guess.
No, I think Lehman's piece is definitely on the nose of what the case is. I mean, I kind of fallen behind with my own keeping track of those types of things, but Carlos Santana is one example I had who's had declining numbers against sliders specifically over the last 3 seasons. And the last time I looked at it is the worst batting average he's had in his entire career against that type of pitch. I think it was like a $114 last time I looked. It might be higher, it might be lower. Again, not up to date on that, but with Gleeman's on the nose piece, it's this is definitely one of those weaknesses where they're seemingly waiting for the perfect pitch every time, whether it's a fastball or off speed, and wasting a lot of opportunities. Unfortunately, they've turned it around during the series, but I think, as they go face a team with a slightly better starting pitching and bullpen in the Angels, it's definitely something you have to keep your eyes out for, and it's not going to go away anytime soon until they really change that approach altogether.
Yeah, awesome piece if you haven't checked it out already. Again, on The Athletic by Aaron Gleeman, the geek. Quick little preview. Game 1 tomorrow in Anaheim. Bailey Ober on the mound now. Angels struggling a bit. I know they lost like 5 of 6 before last night, something like that. Mm-hmm. What are your biggest keys to watch for Game 1? And I guess the series as a whole as well, these 3 games coming up.
Well, I know Corey Probus mentioned this during the broadcast, but when's the last time you think we saw Mike Trout and Byron Buxton both playing in center field?
Yeah, he teased that. He teased it. It's been a while, right?
I want to say it's been 2017 or maybe 2019.
Man.
So take advantage of that, if nothing else. With Bailey Ober on the mound against Patrick Sandoval, I think Twins are a little more favorable. And again, their starting pitching is a little more shaken up this season so far than the Twins has been. So I think that's really going to be the thing to keep an eye on. And as you mentioned with Gleeman's piece, it's like, okay, we got another team we're facing for the first time this season. Are they going to take advantage of these weaknesses, or have the Twins shown that they have adapt, even though it is the White Sox, they have adapt to adjusting to these types of pitches and are going to get on base much better?
Yeah, well said. All right, let's get out of here. One more quickie to close, one fun one. Almost a month into the season now. I think I asked you this last time we were on about a week and a half ago, but give me another big surprise throughout the league that you've seen or noticed. Could be for good, could be for bad. Just what surprised you the most in the MLB through this first month of the season thus far?
I think it's just all these arm injuries.
Yeah.
It's a bummer. I mean, it's detrimental to the top guys in our sports, and it's a whole nother topic that could be 5 podcast episodes, mini-series on its own. But, when talking about David Festa, again, plugging my piece a little bit, I know I can, but modern. So, and Woods Richardson, their pitch counts, their velocities are not that top tier, high 90s, where it's not overworking them to the point. And that's why you just got to keep your eyes on how hard they're throwing. I think that's definitely more of the examples of this is why we're seeing such an epidemic in pitching arm injuries. And you got to just lower it down, even if hitters are getting a lot more used to hitting 97, 98 down the middle.
Yeah, well said. And you're definitely right. We could spend a whole show. We could dedicate a whole 30, 60 minutes on that topic alone. Well done, my man. Always fun talking Twins with you. Twins win it again today. They get the 4-game sweep. Fresh series. That starts tomorrow on the West Coast in Anaheim versus the Angels. First pitch for that one. That's a late one. 8:30.
Well, we got 2 late games.
Yeah, we got back-to-back late games. And Wolves as well. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, Twins first pitch, 8:38 p.m. Central Standard Time start. As always, huge shout out to everybody that joined us in the stream. Rest assured, we'll be back each and every game. Same time, same place, right here to break it all down. And quick reminder, go check out all of Theo's work on Twitter at TheodoreTollef1. Plus all the work you mentioned ripping up over at ZoneCoverageMN.com. I know you mentioned a few things. If we go check out one piece, one thing today up there, what should we check out? Anything you've been working on Twins related?
Just wait. I mean, it might be till tomorrow morning. Just wait for my update on Justin Topa. That will be on Twins Daily. Awesome. Have an interview with him after this game, and we'll see how things are going for him, because I know he's still he's new to this franchise, and people are going to want to know more about him, hear directly about his injury and his health. So
awesome. Can't wait to go check that out maybe tomorrow morning. And if it's not too much trouble as well, make sure to like and subscribe. Help us get to 8,000 subscribers now. That's always, always much appreciated. Not to mention, you can always find all our Locked On Sports Minnesota content wherever you find your podcasts. That includes Apple Music, Spotify, and other various outlets as well. That'll do it for us today. That's Theo Tollefson. I'm Luke Inman on Twitter at Luke_Spinman. Until next time, signing out.